Hey guys, Anthony Dream Johnson here today from thedreamlounge.net. Here today with another video blog, this time titled, Why the Barbell Squat is the Worst Exercise in Existence That is Also Commonly Practiced. Before we get into that, which I hope is a loaded question that makes it, or it comes off as a loaded question that makes it apparent and obvious where I stand on the issue right from the get-go, I do want to make a couple of disclaimers. I do not represent anyone but myself and my own opinions, my own thoughts in this video. Certainly not even people that are relevant to the discussion, to really clarify that. So I do not represent, for example, Bill Simone, who's mentioned in this video quite a bit. I do not represent PaleoFX, which is a great event I support, so the shirt has nothing to do with the video. And ArxFit, the machine sitting behind me, the company that makes that machine. I don't represent their thoughts at any point or any time, but especially in this video, because this is a pretty bold claim. And barbell squats tend to be quite the sacred cow that no one likes to get involved with bashing. It's just, for whatever reason, it's become an exercise that you just can't touch. And everyone says you're a fucking moron if you deny that they are the best exercise ever invented in human history. So, getting to the crux of the discussion here, the point of the video, I do believe the barbell squat is the worst exercise in existence that is also commonly practiced. So it's the worst thing that people are really doing today. There's nothing, I think, worse you could do when you go to the gym than a barbell squat. There's nothing more bass-ackwards, ineffective, and dangerous you can do. I mean that. In spite of all the lore you've ever heard on barbell squats, and all of their speculative benefits that are almost literally endless if you look around the internet enough. Just go on and on and on. So to best illustrate the point I really want to make with the barbell squat that really just rips out the fundamentals of any fundamentals anyone has for wanting to do the exercise in the first place for the purpose of exercise. So we're not talking about a competitive sport here where someone has to squat for competition. That's, to me, a sport. It's a separate issue. I'm talking about people that go to the gym here, that go to the gym and perform barbell squats for the purpose of better health, for stronger muscles, bigger muscles and stronger muscles, bigger and stronger muscles. So exercise. To really illustrate that, or to best communicate that, I'm going to illustrate it visually, or very concretely. To do that, I'm going to need you to wipe the slate clean best you can in regards to exercise. So basically try to forget everything you know about exercise, good and bad, for just a second here, just 5 seconds. And just kind of follow along with the process I'm going to go through and visualizing what I mean when I say that the barbell squat is like the dumbest thing you can do in existence in a gym. One of the dumbest. Certainly the dumbest, again, that's commonly practiced at like every gym you can go to. And one final note before we get into that, just wait, it's coming. The primary source of these ideas comes from Congruent Exercise by Bill Simone. Nothing I say here is a direct quote, unless I say it's a direct quote. So these ideas, these conclusions are not exactly made in the book. They're conclusions I'm making, that I'm inferring from the book, that I think Bill might agree with, but he's not particularly keen on getting aggressive with intellectual stuff. He doesn't care. And kudos to that. He's not obligated to care. But I'm making the video. It's of interest to me, and I'm motivated to talk about this. It's of a huge interest to me. So finally getting to the point, let's pretend you know nothing about exercise. You're just some dumb schmuck off the street. You don't know anything, right? You just know that there's this concept of exercise, that it's a physical movement, and it's supposed to help your body and you in some way. I'm going to take you to this gym, and with no prior knowledge of exercise and no conception of it, I'm going to take this, for your first exercise, and we'll talk about in this video, I'm going to take this magical bar, right? It's a little bit thicker than this pen. I'm going to take this bar that's a little bit thicker than this pen, I'm going to make it weigh a few hundred pounds. At the very least, significantly more than your body weight. I know as a 17-year-old in high school, I was able to barbell squat a free weight, not a Smith machine or anything like that. I believe nearly double my body weight at one point, which is not uncommon. A lot of people can squat that much weight. So again, we're going to take this, for your first movement you've ever experienced of exercise, take this bar that's not much thicker than this, and we're going to make it weigh a shit ton. It's going to weigh a truckload relative to your body. More than the sum of your entire body, every organ, every bone, every muscle. It's a lot of weight. We're going to put it at the very top, and this is where it really comes on in real life. We're going to take this really heavy bar, we're going to put it at the top of your spine. In fact, we're going to go further than that. We're going to put this bar essentially between, as you squat, we're going to put your neck between this bar and the ground. So if you fall forward, you face catastrophic injury, paralysis, and perhaps death. Probably death if you fall forward. If you fall backward while having this bar on your back, for whatever reason you're moving with it, say placing it back on the rack or taking it off a free weight barbell squat, you're also facing catastrophic injury. If you fall to the left, to the right, diagonally forward, diagonally back, any which way you cut it, if you make one slip up with your feet, carrying this huge bar on your back at the top of your spine, on top of arguably the most delicate joint structure in your entire body, you face death, potentially, if not catastrophic injury, including being wheelchair bound the rest of your life. Now, think about what this person would say. Who would willingly, with no prior interest or knowledge of exercise or even conception of it, who would take this, and who would rationally take this ultra heavy bar, weighs potentially 2 to 3 times as much as their body weight, and put it at the top of their spine, these interlocking vertebrae that come together to form your spine, that are held together by muscles and other connective tissues, whatever. But it's still the most delicate joint, perhaps the most delicate joint structure in your body. And you're putting this really heavy bar on top of it that is also, at the same time and simultaneously, the furthest you can physically get away from the intended muscle groups you're trying to work, which is your legs, your quads, and your hamstrings, and your ass. You can't get any further. This is it, unless you put it on top of your head. No, you're putting it on top of your spine. You're putting this huge amount of weight to work very large muscles around very large bones next to very large joints. You're putting it at the very tippy top of like the weakest joints in your body. There's no other worse place to put it. It doesn't get any worse. It's the dumbest thing you can do. You following along? I hope you are. Because I'll repeat it one last time before we kind of move off this. You're putting this ultra heavy bar, not much thicker than this pen, at the top of your spine, and you're also putting your neck between, in one wrong slip, between the bar and the ground, causing paralysis or death. That's just crazy. No one would do that, is my argument. No one in their right mind, without, you know, the social boost, the social proof of everyone else doing the barbell squat in the gym, and it's being commonly practiced, popularly recommended, or commonly recommended. No one would do this. No one with a basic understanding of anatomy and joint structure and human movement would be like, let me load this relatively thin bar up, put it at the top of your spine and on top of your neck, and hope it all holds together as you perform an intense movement by lowering your ass up and down. And then on top of that, walking forward and back to put the bar on the rack. That's just crazy. No one would do it. Another point I'd like to make before closing the video is that people are going to argue, of course, this would be the primary and probably the first and foremost argument people will make, is that, oh, the spine adapts, the muscles build in the spine and around the spine and all around the back. And it builds the muscles in your entire body. Barbell squat's superior to everything on earth. Okay, you're speculating that your body is going to adapt. You're betting that your body is going to adapt at a later point from when you start out barbell squatting, performing a barbell squat, that it's going to adapt and it's going to build these muscles to support the spine, the rest of the body, and rib cage. Think about what you're doing, or what's really and objectively going on here. You're betting that this super heavy bar at the top of your spine that's being supported by your spine, you're betting at the risk of catastrophic injury, is soon or later, especially later, because the risk of injury is 100% a long enough time span of performing a barbell squat, but it's not the topic. You're betting that these muscles and connective tissues and all these things are getting stronger and over time. But think about what they're getting stronger for. What is the purpose of those muscles and those connective tissues getting stronger? Especially relevant to the manner you're forcing them or very strongly encouraging them to get stronger in. they're trying to prevent your spine and your ribcage from collapsing, which I want to say is a direct quote from Congruent Exercise. Fantastic book, I highly recommend, by Bill Simone. Think about that. You're trying to strengthen your muscles not through intense, safe, brief contractions. You're putting them in between an ultra-heavy bar and complete and total collapse. They either support the weight you're forcing them through, or your spine collapses, you just die. Your rib cage collapses. And that's what he says in here. It's funny when he says it too. But it's also true. Think about it. You have this, again, for the millionth time, you have this ultra heavy bar at the top of your spine, at the top, right at the base of your neck. Why would you do this? There's nothing more self-defeating that you could do in a gym that's commonly practiced. It's the worst exercise in existence. It's dangerous, obviously, as I've discussed. It's ineffective. You're trying to work, the intended muscle group is like light years away. It's as far away as you can get from the intended muscle group. It's your legs. These huge muscles surrounding huge bones, surrounded by huge joints. You're putting the smallest muscles in between as a barrier between the bar, a huge amount of weight that the muscles do need to grow and develop, more than likely. You need the tension, or I believe it's true. You're putting the weakest joint structure and the weakest muscles, small spine muscles, there's probably a word for that, between the bar and the muscle group you're trying to work, or primarily try to work. Because even if people will argue that you're trying to make your back stronger and all that nonsense, but really trying to make your legs stronger. That's probably the first and foremost reason you're doing a barbell squat, not to strengthen your back. And it's just crazy. It's as ineffective as you can get. And there's a final reason I hinted on it a second ago, I mentioned self-defeating. A barbell squat is at the same time, in addition to all these things I've been talking about, all these points, it's like the most self-defeating exercise I can conceive of. Because the stronger you get, the more dangerous it gets. The stronger your legs get, the more this weight increases. The bar doesn't increase in size, but the weight increases exponentially. So as you get stronger, you're feeding that weight through a joint structure and a muscle system that doesn't track. Your legs are going to get stronger to support what you're doing, more than likely. I'm not arguing barbell squat's not going to build your leg muscles. I'm saying it's like the dumbest thing you can do, though. It's the worst way to do it. There's so many different better ways to work out your legs. So there's nothing, that's my ultimate point, there's nothing on every level worse you can do. It's ineffective, it's unsafe, and it's self-defeating. So again, the stronger you get, the more dangerous and ineffective it becomes. Because your spine, that's trying to keep the muscles of the spine that are trying to keep the spine and ribcage from collapsing are getting hammered more and more and more, and they're not able to keep up. You really think the muscles of your spine can keep up with the muscles of your quads and your hamstrings and your ass? Those are huge. There's absolutely no way it's going to happen. And I realize this is a common exercise that we've had, it's been so ingrained in our culture that it's just common practice and it's accepted as a norm, and you're stupid to argue against it. No, this is dumb, it's stupid. There's nothing dumber you can do than a barbell squat when you go to a gym. There's nothing more ineffective and unsafe. And while I'm using the word dumb kind of loosely here, it's really an act of ignorance. Because no one would do this knowingly. You'd be, unless it's a sport, which is a separate matter, if it's for the purpose of exercise and you're aware of what I'm talking about here and you grasp the concepts, it's irrational to the highest degree possible relative to your physical body to perform a barbell squat, a free weight barbell squat, to keep this narrow and precise. So I'm not talking about a Smith machine or anything like that. A free weight barbell squat, there's nothing more dangerous you can do at any point, in any way, shape, or form. There's no way to modify it, at least if it's still a barbell squat. There's no special technique with your hips or some bullshit that Mark Ripto talks about. Because nothing you're going to do is fundamentally going to change the point, or the premise of putting a bar at the top of your spine. You know, we say it's at the top of your back. No, it's at the top of your spine. Your neck is in between the bar and the ground. Again, one slip any which way is death. Or it's a very high chance of death. You break your neck and you're done. So that's my point, guys. The barbell squat is the worst exercise in existence. The question, it was my question, it was a loaded question. I meant that from the beginning. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you like it, please share it, like it, and leave a comment. Yeah, appreciate comments. I love the discussion that it starts on the blog and on YouTube and all that. Thanks, guys. Take care.